Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where people truly believe that they can always get what they want whenever they want. And guys, in today's episode, OP gets arrested and thrown in jail, all because they didn't give an entitled brat exactly what she wanted. I hope you enjoyed today's lineup. Don't shake your heads too hard, and you can always send or link stories to this email right here. But guys, before we dive into the crazy Karen stories today, take a listen to this. OP says, I'm a 24-year-old female, and I've been dating this guy who's named Jay, 28 years old, for 4 months. He's handsome, smart, funny, well-educated, has an awesome job, and is a sweetheart. On Sunday, he had a whole day planned for us. We were going to walk a nature trail and then go back to his place for dinner that he was making. I was so excited because it was going to be the first time I'd be at his house. Since we were hiking, he said I could bring my dog Shelby with us. Jay made us a roast and some vegetables for dinner. I finished my plate before Jay did, so I took it to the kitchen. There was still about half the roast left, and it was close to Shelby's dinner time, so I decided to take half of the roast and some raw vegetables from the fridge to put on a plate for Shelby. I was carrying the plate to the back door with Shelby to feed her outside, and that's when Jay asked me what I was doing. I told him I was feeding Shelby. Jay then said something like, well, that's not dog food. Now Jay knows I mainly feed Shelby a raw diet. I then opened the door to put the plate down for Shelby, and Jay gets up. He then takes the plate away from her, went to the kitchen, and then came back with it wrapped up in tinfoil and told me to leave. His excuse was that he made dinner for me and him, not me, him, and my dog, and that I should have asked before I helped myself because he would have used his leftovers. I did leave, but not before telling him that he made a meal for us so I could do with it as I pleased, and he knew damn well how I feed Shelby. I tried to talk to my friend about it later that night, but she said that Jay was right to be upset. But this friend has never really approved of how I treat my own dog, so I feel like she was probably a bit biased and the wrong person to ask. So am I the a-hole for just feeding my dog like I normally would? Okay, guys, I'm sharing this post because a lot of people are saying that OP is 100% the entitled a-hole in this situation. Now, I think we can all agree that she's not the a-hole for wanting to feed her dog a raw diet. What makes her the a-hole, however, is the fact that she said that he made a meal for both of them, so she can do whatever she pleases with it. So this person comments, you've been dating him for 4 months, you were a guest in his home, and you made a plate of leftover roast for your dog without asking? Do you even understand boundaries? And your statement that he made a meal for the two of you so you could do with some of it as you pleased. That is such a lack of basic courtesy and understanding of where you are in a relatively new relationship that it's astounding. Not gonna lie, I would be done with you. This is just so weird and off-putting. So guys, OP does come back with an update that says that Jay broke up with her. So yeah guys, let me know what you think. If you were dating someone and they pulled something like this, how would you react? Are you breaking it off? Alright, I'm a 29-year-old female, and I've been dealing with this for some time. But recently, this became ridiculous. I say this because my grandmother is the most special person that I've ever known. And by special, I mean she's one of the most frustrating, entitled, narcissistic, condescending people on Earth. She believes that she's the matriarch of the family, the highest authority that we all must obey. And for that, she's done a lot of things to the family over the years. And recently, I became her main objective. So a couple of months ago, she organized a family meeting at her house. Believing it was just a family meal, we all went. And when everybody was there, she revealed her true intentions. It was a trap. Apparently, someone had told my grandmother that I was dating a girl, my girlfriend. And basically, she exposed me to the whole family. The following 30 minutes were a non-stop humiliation in front of my family, saying how much of a failure I was, ashamed of the family, that I was a sinner, and how embarrassed she was that her church's friends knew that I was a shameless pervert. When I couldn't take it anymore, I got up from my chair, just to be slapped in the face by her for disrespecting her. After seeing that, the rest of the family finally intervened, getting her apart before she tried to pull my hair out. The following weeks, she was nothing more than a constant headache. Endless calls and text messages telling me that I will burn for my sins, that I was a disgrace, and that I should stop fooling around and correct my life. She even lectured my own parents, demanding that they correct me, to make me quit my job and to make me find a husband, because that's the right thing to do, and that's what I should be doing. Also, she took every chance she got to say how evil and selfish I was for ruining her good image. Last Saturday, she outdid herself. When I was in my apartment, there was a knock on the door, and when I opened it, I saw that it was her. By that point, I was no longer trying to hide my displeasure from her, so I just said, "Oh, it's you. What do you want?" Without being invited to come in, she goes inside my house and began to look around the place with an obvious gesture of disgust and disapproval on her face. She then turned to see me with that look of superiority, as if she were doing me a favor for just being there. She told me that she'd already given me more than enough time to reconsider and correct my life, so she was there so I could apologize to her. I just laughed sarcastically. I told her that she was crazy and that she could go now. It was at that point she started lecturing me with the same speech again and again, but I didn't take it. I interrupted her and let out all the things I've wanted to tell her for a long time. That she was a stupid old witch, that she was not an authority figure to anyone, that her presence alone ruins our day, and that no one can stand her. I also told her that she's such a horrible and suffocating grandmother and mother, that she should not make it strange that none of her children love her or visit her unless she forces them to. I knew I'd hurt her by the way she tensed her face and how she tried to hide the tears in her eyes. It was then she said, "Enough. I can see that you don't understand the good way, so I'll have to correct you the old way. You will give me the keys to this place, and you will return to your parents, and you'll be grounded until you learn to obey and do what I ordered. Do you understand?" Now, the funny part is, she actually extended her hand, as if she was waiting for me to give my keys to her. It was at that point I laughed, and I laughed out loud that this was too ridiculous. I couldn't take it seriously. Apparently that made her so mad that she lunged at me trying to grab my keys. We struggled, there were screams, things falling out of place, and the damn witch got to the point of digging her nails into my arms and biting my hands. The scandal was such a crap show that a couple of neighbors actually came out to see what was going on. And when my grandmother saw them, she started shouting that I was a thief and that I was trying to rob her house. Obviously, they didn't believe anything, as they were my neighbors. They knew me. They separate her from me, and when she saw that they didn't believe her and that I wouldn't obey her, she then threatens me with, "Your parents will know about this," and she left. Since then, she's been telling everyone she knew how I insulted her and violently attacked her. We all know her. We all know she's a liar and that she just makes everyone's lives harder. Wow guys, it just sucks so much that family can get this insane, right? And guys, family or not, I think at that moment OP should have gotten the authorities involved. Because at 29 years old and being a full-grown adult, it's no longer cute to confiscate things as a punishment. At that point, it just becomes theft. I personally think that OP needs to put up cameras in case she shows up again. And a lot of people are also suggesting restraining orders and going no contact. So guys, leave your comments on what you would do if your grandma suddenly showed up to your house and did this to you. So this happened some years ago. I'm in my 30s now, but back then, I was 22 years old. My sister was 18 at the time, and she was my mom's golden child. My dad thankfully has a good head on his shoulders, and he always called my sister out on her crap. But my mom's interference always meant that my sister got off easy, and this is what happened back then. My parents had decided to take a vacation to ski in Aspen and let my sister watch the house for them. They told her no parties, but that was a rule she straight up ignored. A day after our parents left, my sister starts sending out invites to a party, and she was promising free alcohol. I didn't see that post just yet, but my sister called me and asked me to go get her alcohol for the party, because I was over 21, so I could legally buy it. She also had no money. She wanted me to pay for it, and she said that she'd invite me to the party and introduce me to an easy girl in order to pay me back. I told her I wasn't gonna break the law to make her happy, that she should never have told people that her party would have alcohol. She then screams at me over the phone that I was ruining her life and that she couldn't take back the invites now as they were all over Facebook. I then looked at her post and facepalmed. I told her that what she was doing was really stupid and she and her friends were all underage, so it's illegal. She tried to say that it's only illegal if I narked on them. I said I wouldn't narc, but I wasn't gonna buy her booze either. She then screamed at me some more, so I hung up the phone. Well, that night, my sister had the party, and someone called the police for underage drinking. After being arrested and confronted by police later on, my sister then throws me under the bus. She said that I supplied the alcohol she was using. It turns out that she actually broke into Dad's liquor cabinet, and she thought it would be better to frame me for her crime. Now, I don't know what she told police, but that led to me getting arrested the next day. They seemed convinced that I was guilty and didn't really listen to me when I said I was never there, but I willingly cooperated with them. At the station, I told them the whole story and got them to look at my sister's Facebook post. Thankfully, there were a few people there who listened to me, but I still had to sit the night out in a cell while my parents were called. My mom and dad flew back home overnight, and they bailed out both my sister and I. My mom tried to make my dad leave me in jail because my sister had told her lies as well. But my dad took the time to talk to me, and then he looked at my sister's Facebook post, so he believed me. This caused a fight between him and my mom. When they got home, my dad discovered that my sister had broken into his liquor cabinet and spoke to police on my behalf. My mom, however, wanted everything to fall on me because, as she put it, the charges were ruining her baby's future. My innocence was further proven by the fact that I and my car were seen on CCTV when I left work and when I arrived at home, as the apartment I lived in had CCTV cameras to watch the parking lot. My car didn't move from there for the rest of the day and night. In my sister's story to police, I had driven out and gotten the alcohol for her, but I wasn't seen on CCTV in any liquor store in the county, and my bank account showed no transactions buying alcohol. My parents' house also had a camera at the front door, and my car was never seen in the driveway that day. After being confronted with those facts, my sister's story changed to saying that I already had the alcohol and gave it to her at my apartment. My sister finally had to give up on her lies, and my parents were severely disappointed in her. My mom still tried to convince me to take the fall for my sister though. She came to my apartment and actually demanded that I tell police that it was all my fault. I said I wasn't gonna ruin my future for my sister. She refused to leave it and went from demanding to begging. My mom even got on her knees and tried to convince me that she and my dad would make everything okay in the long run if I just took the blame now. I told her that I'd rather live my life poor than have a felony on my record. My mom then threw a huge fit, and she starts throwing things because I refused to do what she wanted. I then threatened to call police, and she left my apartment cussing me out like a madwoman. I've never heard so many F-bombs out of her before. I then called my dad right away and told him everything that happened. He was insanely pissed, and he got into a huge fight with my mom as soon as she got home. The thing is, my mom didn't even try to deny anything she said or did, because she deemed it would have been for the greater good of their daughter. My dad told her that she couldn't destroy me to save my sister. He then threatened to divorce her if she didn't try to make things right. My dad then said it was couples and family counseling or divorce. My mom had signed a prenup before she married him, and she really had no choice. In the family counseling, I called her out on how she always believed my sister's lies. My sister tried to say that they weren't lies, but each one I pointed out from over the years said otherwise. I had taken the time to write a list of all the ones I could remember from the past decade that had all been proven she lied. My mom and sister were forced to stay silent as I read them all. My sister was now proven without a doubt to be a liar and a manipulator, and she just shut down and refused to say anything more to the counselor, and my mom finally apologized to me. I told her that her apology was very fake, and after so many years of favoritism, the damage was already done. My relationship with her had never really recovered, because she was convinced that I was guilty no matter what I said, until my sister admitted the truth, and then wanted me to pretend to be the guilty one anyway to protect her favorite child. When my sister went to court, my mom pleaded with the judge to go easy on my sister for the charges of underage drinking, giving other underage people alcohol, as well as attempting to frame me for her crime. She also resisted arrest when the police came and shut down the party. She was very drunk when it happened. They kept her in a cell overnight to sober up, and that's when she told police that I'd been the one to provide alcohol. With my mom's begging, along with the relentless lawyer my parents hired, they got the judge to cut a deal, provided my sister pled guilty, which she didn't want to do. Her lawyer highly recommended that she take the deal to avoid jail time, because there was no other way of keeping her from getting a felony on her record. My sister's lawyer used the fact that the alcohol had not been bought that day, but rather had already been in the house, long before the party happened, to help lessen the charges. In the end, my sister got off with a huge fine that our mom paid most of out of her own pocket, and a couple of years probation. She was also made to get therapy too by our dad. She never really showed actual remorse for what she did though, and only had animosity for me, no matter how in the wrong she was. After her probation and 4 years of college were over, she decided that she was going to leave home for California and never come back once she landed a good job. She currently works in an office in LA, and we haven't spoken in years. Dad got her that job, and she's not shown any real appreciation for it. Even my mom's given up on her ever coming home for the holidays, and us ever being a family again. It tore her up inside for a few years. But now she's just bitter. She doesn't even blame me anymore. But we only seem to show indifference to each other. Just because my sister cut her off wouldn't make me the new de facto favorite. It just means that my mom lost her baby and she isn't getting her back. She also can't leave my dad because she's too reliant on him, despite her having her own career. So she's just become a shell of her former self. Things between me and my dad are still great. He pretty much disowned my sister for what she's done, and he stopped caring if she'll ever talk to him again. He and my mom don't even sleep in the same bedroom anymore. She moved into a guest room 5 years ago, and she stayed there. Their marriage is really only on paper these days. The situation that OP was put in was just awful, guys. Like, how can one parent sacrifice one of their own kids for the sake of the other? Shame on that mom. As for OP's sister, shame on her as well for not getting what she wanted and then trying to frame OP to throw him in jail. And guys, there's gotta be way more to this though. Like the fact that OP got arrested that easily and all it took was the sister saying, "I didn't buy the alcohol. This person did." Is just too darn crazy. Like, guys, I don't know how the law works. So if you know if this is how it works when it comes to supplying alcohol to minors, please let me know. Okay, so in my teens and early 20s, I worked for a supermarket. Unfortunately, I had to deal with my fair share of entitled Karens and Kevins on a daily basis. I was just talking to a friend, reminiscing about the past, when this story came up. At the supermarket, we occasionally sold books. Not many, but sometimes. At the time I was working, it was the 5th book from the Harry Potter series. People could go pre-order it, and we would put those books in a bag with the name and information on it. We also had separate displays for people not pre-ordering, but they go pretty quickly. I had the delight to work the opening shift day of the release as the supervisor. Supermarket opened at 8 o'clock. I was at the store by 7:30 to get the registers ready, to give the other cashiers the rundown for this morning, and telling them to prepare for the absolute crap storm that was to come. The problem started at 7:30, when the managers tried to open the door for me and some other cashiers. A lot of people had already gathered waiting for the book, and a few tried shoving their way in. Now my manager doesn't take crap from anyone, and managed to shout at the customers who were already there that they can't get their book without the registers being ready, and the people to man it. So we get everything ready. The manager and I get the displays with the non-pre-order books ready to go. 8 o'clock comes, the doors open, and the herds of customers swarm in. Chaos ensued around the displays and around my service counter. People were yelling and screaming that they wanted their books, wanted to pay, and basically pushing others aside, and holy crap was it wild. So fast forward 3 hours, and the displays were empty. 3 hours of working non-stop to get people their book fix. And then more problems started. People who didn't pre-order and couldn't buy a book started to throw hissy fits because no was apparently the wrong answer that they wanted to hear that day. And of course, everyone backed off after seeing that it wasn't worth the commotion. And along comes little Miss Entitled Karen. The woman was in her 50s, trying to get the book for her niece or something. She was told no, and she tried to complain again to my manager, who told her to cut the crap after explaining the situation to her again. And that's when Karen decided to escalate the situation. The woman stands near my register, just watching me like a hawk, the whole time throwing me dirty looks and mumbling something. I didn't realize what she was doing at the time, but then a regular customer comes in with her son to pick up the pre-order. The woman gives me her name and address, so I turn around, unlock the drawer of pre-orders, and grabbing the book before locking up again. Now, unfortunately for me, Karen had heard the customer asking for the book, and she goes full Karen mode. As soon as she saw me handing the mom the book, she lost her mind. Karen was screeching the entire time. She marches up to me and says, "Why do you give her a book? You told me you were out of books. What makes her so damn special?" To which I tell her again, "Ma'am, this is a pre-order. We're out of the ones that weren't pre-ordered. You didn't pre-order, so you can't have a book, ma'am. We've told you." That's when Karen shouts, "Liar! You're a liar. I waited so effing long for this, and you need to give me that book now. I was here first. F that woman and F her son." I then tell her, "Hey, this book was ordered by this woman. You can't have this book unless she decides to part with it." Karen then continues to screech and curse while I complete the transaction. And then it happens. The moment I tried to hand the book to the kid, the frickin' Karen grabs the book and screams, "If I don't get one, nobody gets one." She then pushes past me to try to open the locked drawer. When that didn't work, she proceeded to angry scream at me. Now, she didn't touch me, but she was screaming so loud and she had me backed up into a corner. In the meantime, the poor mother had called for help and I had pressed the emergency button. Our emergency button made sure that cops were called and extra cameras were turned on to catch everything on video. The manager finally manages to wrestle Karen away from me, and that's when the cops come and she was taken away. Statements were taken and Karen was banned from the store, all over a book. I don't know what happened with Karen after that, and frankly, I don't care. I was 17 at the time, and I never had to go to court. I'm glad I never had to deal with her again. Oh my freaking goodness, guys. Like, people go nutso over any new release. Like, I can't imagine anybody ever needing anything that badly. And jail time is never ever worth it. But that, my friends, is r/entitled people, right? Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's awesome stories. If you did, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. If you missed yesterday's episode on the channel, an entitled racist Karen moves into a new neighborhood and she thinks she owns the damn place. It's such a funny story, so go check it out if you haven't, and myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.